basics. Are you a student here in McGill or in Montreal?
Yes, I'm a student here at McGill.
Okay, what do you study?
I study political science and Latin American studies.
Oh, fascinating. So then you know all about the casseroles.
Yes, I do. Yes, casserorazo, yes.
Oh, do you want to sort of give a brief synopsis of that? Because I don't think I've done an interview.
Okay, so in sort of like the last 2 weeks, a lot of people are doing what we're calling here in Quebec casserole en cours, which is people going out in the streets or get out on the balconies and banging pots and pans together. And so this is a sort of long tradition of this, and it originated in Latin America. It originally started in Chile in the 1970s, sort of under the Allende government because of the embargoes imposed by the US. A lot of like basic foodstuffs were like hard to get, so people were out protesting that, and banging pots and pans was sort of a symbol of the empty pots and pans, and it's also something that is like readily available to everyone. And sort of this spread, and it was a protest tactic under the Pinochet regime against Augusto Pinochet, and sort of also spread to other parts of Latin America, mainly Argentina. So in 2001 there was a big, huge economic collapse in Argentina, thank you IMF, and just sort of massive unemployment, and so a lot of people went out there to protest that, and the casserorazo, as it's called, was sort of a main form of protest there, and now we see it's spreading to Quebec.
I know in Argentina around that time that some people that lost their jobs actually took over their jobs from the management and ran them themselves. Like there's like some factories that did that, where the owner one day after Friday work, they took all the equipment out of the factory and put them in storage in a different city, and the workers actually found them, located the equipment, brought it back to the factory and started up. And the same with this hotel that the management abandoned, that the workers started it up, and now that it's working, like the managers are trying to take it back. But I know they did stuff like that in Argentina.
Reclaimed factory movement was very big then. Sort of an interesting, when sort of, because in Argentina the entire like economic and political system collapsed, and it led to a lot of like autonomous methods of organization. And so you had the casserorazo, you also had the piqueteros, which were these sort of blockades set up, and like unions of unemployed workers, and just sort of a lot of like grassroots mobilization, and a lot of autonomous mobilization at their neighborhood level, sort of across across classes in Argentina. So sort of we're not at that point yet in Quebec, but it's sort of interesting to see. I got a flyer the other day because I live in Saint-Henri, one of the neighborhoods in Quebec, and there was a flyer saying like autonomous neighborhood, a forum or just discussion to be held by sort of the resident of our neighborhood to discuss Law 78, discuss the student strike, and discuss sort of wider issues faced by many in the community. So it's really, I think, sort of the most inspiring thing that I found about this sort of the last few months is how this has moved on from a debate about tuition and to a much larger debate of sort of what kind of society we want, what kind of Quebec do we want? Do you want one where sort of the government can randomly impose policies that hurt people with low incomes, or hurt students, or that hurt ordinary people? Or do we want a Quebec where people stand in solidarity and mobilize collectively sort of outside of government and take charge of their government and deciding what kind of province they want? So I found it very sort of inspiring.
Is there something's going on in St. Henry this week, isn't it? Isn't that the community meeting? When is that?
That is June. So this Saturday, I believe at either 2 o'clock or at 4 o'clock in Georges Etienne Park.
All right, I'll try to come out to that.
Yeah, you should check
that out.
That would be
great. What do you think about the government's response, or the party's response? Like, how is the political system responding to the challenges that are being presented here by the movement?
I feel very, very poorly. I think there's been this idea from sort of the get-go that the government is not willing to engage with students because they don't see students as being willing to engage, and I think there's this idea sort of that sort of traditionally in Quebec, government has been responsive to sort of the needs of the people. That's kind of sort of the like the social model we have here. But with the Charest government, we have sort of this sort of very top-down way of doing things, which says that no, we are going to make the decisions because we know what decisions are best, and perhaps, maybe, possibly, if you're lucky, we'll consult with you just to make sure, like, smooth things out. But like, you don't. There's very much this idea that government decides what should be done, not the people, and that's sort of how originally the negotiations, they wouldn't even negotiate with students. Then it became, oh, we're only going to negotiate with some students, but not all students, because half the students we don't want to meet with because they're too radical, according to get going. And then we had a deal. There was the first deal after Victoriaville, which was very tokenistic, did not address the problem, and gave very little student representation. And now finally we have sort of serious negotiations. I was reading the other day that for a half hour of his very, very busy time, Jean Charest has finally graced the students with his presence, so he was there for half an hour. So maybe something will get discussed. But yeah, it's
and that's after how many days of strikes? And
this is 103, 104. We're getting it's been a long time. It's been a long time, but you sort of need this kind of action, if that's sort of the only way. People say, oh, I was talking to a lot of people at McGill who were very much like, oh, I'm in favor of reduced tuition, or I think what the government's doing wrong, but like, I don't think we could strike. I don't think we should strike because I don't think that's the best way to do it. Problem is, that is the only way to do it with this sort of government, which is so like bent on not listening to people, not following the will, if you will, and does not have the best interest of ordinary Quebecers. The only way you were going to get them to listen is by this sort of action, and that's why I urge like everyone that this is in the end, like people should keep mobilizing, and hopefully get some people mobilizing other places as well. I've been talking to people in Ontario, people in New York, and people in Alberta. So hopefully we can sort of get this. Hopefully this spreads.
All right. Any final thoughts? And then I was
okay. All right.
No, not really.
All right.
Any other questions you have for me?
No, I don't think so.
Just one more.
Yeah.
I think you might have already answered this, but how do you think students should combat the tuition hikes?
Unlimited general strike.
Unlimited general strike. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.